Ladies and gentlemen from Hong Kong and those of you from other locations in Asia, it's a good morning and welcome to you all for today's webinar organized by NTT Asia and co-organized by Computerworld Hong Kong. My name is Chee-sing Chan. I'm the Group Editor at Computerworld Hong Kong and I'll be your host for today's session. Today's webinar is focused on the topic of embracing the cloud for more cost-effective backup and disaster recovery. What we can see clear today is that DR and business continuity continue to rise in importance as the value of data becomes ever more critical. Traditional on-premise, in-house, and hardware-based DR can be both expensive, time-consuming, and very resource-hungry. Today, we're going to explore how cloud can help change this equation in your favor. During this webinar, experts from technology, risk, and compliance will discuss the concerns, challenges, and key benefits in using the cloud for DR, and how companies from SMEs right through to large enterprises can safeguard their resources more efficiently and effectively. And to provide insight into what is clearly a topic of growing importance, I have three expert speakers here with me today. Let me give them a quick introduction for you all. First, we have Yuen, who is Senior Product Manager of Cloud Business Division at NTT Asia. We have joining Jackie from Novell, Stanley Cheng, who is Sales Director of Hong Kong and Macau. And finally, from PricewaterhouseCoopers, Mr. Kok-tin, who is Senior Manager of Risk and Controls and Assurance. Just a few housekeeping notes for you before we kick off with our first presentation today. There will be just one presentation. Following that, we will have a group Q&A discussion and panel session where listeners and audience can at any time submit questions and queries via your webinar console. You should be able to see the Q&A section on your right-hand side of your console. Just please click on the Ask Your Question section, and a window will appear for you to insert in your questions at any time. You'll also see a drop-down where you can address those questions. Please address questions to the All Panelists item so that all our speakers can see your questions. We'll do our best to answer these either during the short time just after the first presentation, but more likely we'll probably answer the questions during the Q&A and discussion section. Please do stay through to the end of the webinar, which will last around 45-50 minutes or so. We'll ask you to complete a short survey at the end where we'll reward you with a small Starbucks coupon, I believe, and there's also a special contest in the survey where you can win an iPad Air, so do stick around for that. So without further delay, let me introduce our first speaker formally and let him present to you on the topic of disaster recovery in the cloud. Just a few words about our first speaker, Yuen from NTT Asia. He is responsible for managing the hosting and cloud services for NTT and also for HKNet. He has over 10 years experience in the telecommunications industry, focusing on the development of ICT products for both local and global markets. And he has also developed strong technical background through working in different disciplines from infrastructure design to product management. So, Jackie, over to you for the first presentation.
Okay, thank you, Chi. Good morning, everyone. In the following sections, I will give an update on the latest trend on the disaster recovery. And then I will talk about how enterprise like yourself can benefit by implementing your disaster recovery plan with cloud-based solutions. And then I will tell you what are the choices of solutions that you can choose from. I believe all the audience who join us today are well aware of the importance of disaster recovery in your business. One or more of this factor may have bring you to our webinar today, whether it is a compliance requirement or to serve your business operations. Nowadays, as simple as a DNS or email server can take down your whole business in a world that relies more and more on information technology. As you understand that the damage of an unplanned outage is not just in terms of cost, but also your productivity, the corporate and customer confidence to your business as well. Another fact that may bring your attention is that data is becoming a critical and growing company asset. According to a recent IDC study, over the next decade, business will have 50 times the amount of data as we currently possess, up to over 35 zettabytes of data by 2020. So valuing data is a key company asset will require a shift in thinking for many companies who still associate their key business driver with traditional operations. You should protect your electronic information as a key corporate asset, just as you would with your company brand. If you already have a DR solution in place, one question that you should ask yourself is whether your current solution can sustain the data growth. Just imagine how you would, or how long does it take you to recover tens or hundreds of terabytes of data from a traditional tape drive in the event of disaster. In a traditional DR implementation, there are many options available, from tape backup approach to an off-site remote duplications of the entire set of infrastructure. As you can see, the higher the availability of the solutions can achieve, the higher the solution will cost. In a survey that is conducted from business continuity professionals working in large organizations from US, UK, and the Asia Pacific, who being asked about their biggest challenge that may hold back the business continuity development within their organizations. Over 1/3 of the respondents state that the lack of budget is their largest impact, followed by the concern including the lack of management support, skill set, and technical resources. So actually almost all can be translated back to cost, and seems like cost is the major concern and barrier for most of the enterprise. But why? I think the main reason is because many enterprises feel that the traditional DR implementations are expensive and complicated, as they need to duplicate the entire set of infrastructure at 2 or more remote locations. The time that it takes to implement such a plan can be up to several months to over half a year. And over 90% of the standby DR IT resources at the DR location are usually idle. Only about 10% usage a year for maintenance or drill purpose. And in addition, the lack of resources to perform the increasingly complex scope of tests is also a barrier that enterprise is facing nowadays. And I think most importantly, the cost that it takes to implement is expensive. The upfront investment cost on hardware can be up to like 70% of that in your primary site, plus the additional recurring costs to operate the DR site. So with all this concern, how can we address them? As the topic of today's cloud computing solutions have led to a tremendous shift in the business continuity and disaster recovery options available. And cloud service has brought to us a new level of cost efficiency and the ease of use compared with a traditional DR implementations. So let's take a look. If you have joined our webinar last year, it was predicted that we will hit 30% adoption rate on cloud-based DR service by 2014. But actually, the industry is moving much faster than we expected. According to another survey conducted by TechTarget, the adoption rate is hitting close to 30% in 2013 already. And from the same survey, 45% of the respondents respond that disaster recovery is a cloud project they will implement in 2013. This suggests that the private sector is embracing a new perspective of disaster recovery pretty fast. So the industry is no longer talking about whether or not the cloud is suitable, but instead they are looking for solutions to see how to realize it in a cloud platform. So in compare with the traditional DR solutions, I think perhaps the biggest advantage of cloud-based DR solution is cost saving. With the pay-as-you-go service model of cloud, you only get to charge when you turn on your DR resources, and you can have significant saving on the money you would have spent on the idle DR resources in the traditional solutions. The time to market is another important benefit with cloud DR solutions. The deployment time can reduce from months to hours depending on the size of the data. And the DR resources running on the cloud can be brought online in minutes after a disaster strike, which in turn lowering the recovery time that it takes. And one thing that many people likely will miss when calculating the TCO for DR plan is the effort and time that it takes to execute or to maintain the DR plan. Through the use of cloud-based solutions, DR tests can now be carried out easily by just a few clicks of a button without any impact to your production environment. And you can test as many times and any time as you need it. And in addition to that, cloud service allow you to have ongoing operation cost saving by spending less to maintain your physical asset and the time that it takes you to resolve the issue of the similar hardware if your primary site are still running with legacy hardware. And I think the IT industry experts regularly talk about the needs for network redundancy and server resilience, ensuring that the corporate data is being backed up and copy stored in multiple locations is a common practice. But how much do businesses spend on ensuring that individual groups of employees can continue to work in an emergency? The truth is that many business continuity and DR plan tends to overlook the human factor. A solid and effective plan should compose far more than just technology. Business need to think about how their employee will accept that technology and continue to be productive away from the office. So a complete business continuity DR solutions that brings together the physical workspace from a business resumption center with cloud-based DR solution not just for your IT infrastructure, but should also include a centralized and highly mobile virtual desktop solution to provide a DR workspace for your staff. Well, in short, company can ensure that business continue to operate. For such complete end-to-end service, you can rely on experienced service provider like NTT Communications, who can help you to design and provide one-stop solutions. So after all the talks, let me walk you through a real case on how one of the cloud-based DR solution works. We have a customer from the advertising company industry who was looking to expand regionally through aggressive M&A, and they were having a lot of branch and subsidiaries office, and the number grow as they expand. They were looking for off-site DR solutions that can allow them to centrally manage all the DR resources, and at the same time allow them to expand easily as their business grows. And for this case, we have helped this customer to provide cloud-based DR as a service, and was both cost-effective and quick and easy to implement. Well, we first helped the customer to identify their needs and group in their DR plan. And then what they have to do was to register their servers or their IT infrastructure that they would like to include that in their DR plan and replicate that into our cloud DR platform. All the standby virtual machines will be automatically created. And the data was then replicated through an encryption path along the network. And at this stage, they only have to pay for the storage resources that they have consumed, as the replicated server were at idle stage with the data replications running in the background. And their IT administrator was able to manage and centrally manage all the DR resources through a single online management portal. And they can turn on the standby server as they need for test or maintenance, or in an event of failover, they can do that through a few click on our online management portal. And only at this stage of the time, when they turn on the compute resources that they actually consume, then they will actually pay for them in a pay-as-you-go model. So through this implementation, we help the customer to achieve the efficiencies on the implementations, which we have helped them to complete all the replication in hours instead of days or weeks. And we have simplified their resources management by centralize all the DR resources in one place. And we are able to help them to achieve a cost saving of up to 70% compared with the traditional DR implementation with the usage-based pay-as-you-go models. So with all the benefits, where should we look for solutions? You may want to take into consideration of this fundamental element when looking for a cloud DR service provider. A regional data center that can help you and provide you the coverage in a globalized business world with local presence. A Tier 1 carrier provider that has reliable network connectivity and flexible options to allow you to connect to the cloud and activate your DR resources anytime. And a general cloud provider may only be able to provide you with the infrastructure to keep the server running, but it doesn't provide you with the physical workspace. We believe that a DR provider should have business resumption experience and has the capability to assist you in your DR implementations and help you carry out your plan effectively. And lastly, the flexibility and cost-effective solutions to meet your unique IT requirement. By leveraging our global network and data center and the pioneer on cloud services, we can deliver a one-stop total solution that comes with end-to-end service commitment to realize a reliable cloud-based DR solutions. And at NTT Communication, we have a range of cloud DR solutions that is highly flexible to meet your unique requirement, ranging from an on-demand subscription-based data backup and offsite archiving solutions, and a host-based DR service that can run between customer premises to our data center or over the dedicated private connection between our data center. We support like physical servers to virtual or virtual to virtual. Actually, data backup and host-based DRs can be a complementary solutions to help you get online with your DR resources at any time, and at the same time to allow you to recover your files and archive your data to meet compliance. Or if for larger enterprise, if you're looking for site protections, we can provide a local or geographical DR solutions that is running on top of our enterprise cloud service. We have 2 data centers in Hong Kong and our first Hong Kong financial data center. And also we have that's running on our world first SDN-enabled enterprise cloud service platform with coverage in over 9 countries and 11 locations around the world. So to just summarize my presentations, our focus is on providing innovative ICT solution to enterprise customer with our global presence, with our strong data center footprint around the world. We have done business with enterprise, especially with Asian enterprise, for many years, and we know their needs. And this is why we have our solution built with flexible and at the same time allow you to enjoy the benefit of cloud services. Some key points for you to take away of today's my presentations. Nowadays, DR is no longer a burden or very costly solutions. It can now be a DR as a service, which can provide you a pay-as-you-go charging models, and together with a business resumption service, it can give you a complete BC DR solutions at local or to global solutions as well. So that's the end of my presentation for today. Let me pass it back to Chi.
Great, thanks, Jackie. Certainly your presentation and the demonstration of the case study you mentioned there paints a pretty compelling picture about disaster recovery in the cloud, and I can see some observations from our audience that they also see the value there. But at the same time, while they do see some value, there are key concerns as well. I see some questions around security and compliance. And we'll try and address these now in our Q&A session. Just before I get into some of your questions from the audience, though, I just want to ask Jackie something as well. But based on your presentation, I saw some pretty interesting stats on the surveys in terms of growth and adoption. Can you just give me an idea of what adoption you've seen so far in Hong Kong? Is the growth the same in Hong Kong as well?
Yeah, actually in Hong Kong this year, we have been engaging a lot of customer who is now asking for DR solutions as they see that the cloud technology is getting mature, and we have helped several customer implementing their DR solutions from small scale backup to a large scale site-to-site failover as well within this year. And just actually one point in terms of globally, we have made an announcement that we have helped one of the customer, Yamaha Motor, to build a geographically regional DR solutions by migrating all of the infrastructure to the cloud platform.
Okay, great. Good news there. Okay, let me bring in our other speakers for this morning to join Jackie in this question and answer session. First, a few words about Stanley Cheng, Sales Director of Hong Kong and Macau at Novell. He served a number of roles from business developer to sales director, from system analyst to solution architect, and has evangelized about Hong Kong and China businesses for many years. He has a broad knowledge and experience in information technology businesses. He has engaged many large-scale enterprise disaster recovery projects across Hong Kong and the China region using the plate spin solution, and he has solid experience and will share various reasons and I guess drivers for using cloud DR and recovery as a service to protect business value. Joining Stanley and Jackie, we also have K.T. Gan, who is Senior Manager Risk and Controls at PricewaterhouseCoopers. He has a key role in developing the practice for technology and information security in Hong Kong and China, and coordinates various engagements across the Asia-Pacific region. He has more than 8 years of experience spanning from information security, IT governance, data loss prevention, and various standards initiatives as well. So welcome both to Stanley and KT. Let me just, I guess, address one area here with Stanley first. We talked about how in the past, DR has been quite an expensive proposition for many companies, and clearly cloud offers a shift in that equation. Cost being a big issue, cloud offers a much faster and cheaper way into disaster recovery and BCP. But overall, how does cloud DR change the value proposition of disaster recovery? Because in the past, people view it as a bit of an insurance policy. Maybe they won't use it. What's different about this now?
Well, thank you, T. And I think, thank you, T. I think the most valuable things for DR cloud to address is all about the resource. Traditionally, when we're running a DR solutions, we have to consider, I think, two major issues. The first thing is how we handle the resources for the DRG. So we have to do a lot of testing for our DR environment. I do have customer, they acquiring some kind of contracts or subcontract to those IT services company for them to only do the DR testing or the DRG, maybe a quarter, maybe twice a year. So all these kind of resources is quite difficult right now for them to get the management approval, but they have to do it. So the cloud DR solution, which probably provided by the CSP or the cloud provider like NTT, they can definitely help those kind of customers to address the issue because they have the resources, and as Jackie mentioned, pay-as-you-go model definitely can help those customers. And the other thing is the demand of those seasonal peak hour, like 2 days ago, we have a very huge online website in China right? They sell like 35 billion of dollar. You know, they have a big sales, and right over that time, traditionally, if we have to handle the SLA for that particular moment, especially in the DR demand, so the company has to buy a lot of capex in order to address only a couple days of those seasonal demand. But right now, with the help of the DR cloud, customers have more options. They can pay as you go whenever they need for those particular seasonal demand. They just sign a contract, buy a couple of days of manpower, and keep the service level as the line of business they want. So that definitely can help all those customers to address those painful resource issues in the past. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stanley. I see a lot of questions coming in around security, so I think it's going to be hard for me to avoid going into that area right now. Let me just start off the discussion around this security issue. I mean, obviously, people are considering this idea of moving, you know, their disaster recovery into the cloud, and whenever cloud is mentioned, security does come on top of the list of concerns. But let me ask KT here from Pricewaterhouse. KT, you've worked with a lot of customers, I guess, getting involved in cloud type of adoption and projects. You know, can you maybe just highlight what are the most significant concerns? And you know, the rest of our speakers, please feel free to join in terms of pitching in how to address those concerns. But KT, maybe just give us a quick overview of what those key concerns might be, whether it's regulatory, compliance, and security.
Yeah, thanks, Chi. So I think to answer your question fairly quickly, and also I picked up, same as you, Chi, I picked up a lot of questions coming out from the chat screen that I can see here is all about security, and from the work that I've been doing for my clients in helping them to pick a solution or trying to get them to comfort the management as well as the regulators while migrating to a cloud solution, whether it's a DR or is a production type of a cloud solution. Security and privacy is always the question. Always the question. To give a bit more details is that I think a couple of people also asked that question on screen. I could pick that up. Is that so? If let's say the data is being put on the cloud, let's say with NTT, say is my customer service records or the invoice, customer transactions, Hong Kong ID number. All these sensitive information, if let's say being put at the NTT cloud solutions, how are they being protected? I think that's the first question from the outsider. So, how are these data being protected from the outsider? Then I think that's the first question. Then secondly, how are the people like the workers working in NTT, are they accessing all these sensitive information of that company also? I mean, obviously that is always the questions that we always get always always people ask. Yeah. So I think that's really the question that we always have. So I think that I would definitely rank that as number one challenge or concern talking about, yeah.
So actually, yeah, we also see a lot of this concern from the customer that we approach, and as our service, so from a entity communication perspective, we build our platform that's mainly targeting for enterprise, and we do see that concerns coming where it comes from, and that's why our platforms are really built with flexibilities that we can help to meet enterprise unique requirements to help them customize solutions, and with some advanced technologies, we can help to integrate to further enhance the security on cloud by by the virtual server encryptions, where the customer owns the encryption key to all their assets on the cloud, and they can control who can read and who can access the data. And also, from the data location perspective, we allow the customer to choose and know exactly where the data is and at which data centers. So I think our platform is really built for those kind of customization and flexibility.
Stanley, anything to add from you on the security side? You've obviously worked with customers as well. And any other ways to alleviate the concerns that the management might have with regards to cloud and security in the cloud?
Well, exactly as Jackie said. Well, exactly as Jackie said, we have a lot of area can do to enhance the security way, the encryption, physical security, the network security. There's a lot of things we can done in the data center for providing these kind of services. And that's why we also need a very trusted partner like NTT, right? Like they have a experience with large enterprise, experienced environment, and all those. In terms of the technology, we can do a lot of things, and I think probably Jackie already mentioned about that. And so back to you now.
Sure. I did see one further point that a listener wanted to drill down a bit further into, and this typically arises when we are talking about cloud implementations. Is how does a customer ensure that their data is separated from another customer's data in the cloud? How do you put the controls around whether it's the network of NTT or another service provider? I don't know, from KT's perspective, how do you advise clients from that angle? And at the same time, maybe I'll ask Jackie in terms of how they address it from a technology perspective.
Yeah. Thanks, Chee, again. So hope my voice now is better, not so strong echo. So yeah, so actually my role actually is kind of like a middle person all the time when it comes to cloud solution. Is that I help the client, like the user, the end user of a cloud solution, to pick a suitable cloud solutions. And at the same time, and I also see how the cloud solutions company, they tend to how they try to explain or justify their solutions. Like, okay, we got security, that's what we can do. We can provide read access, write access, all this sort of message. And I have something probably to say, which hopefully can streamline, I think, two parties, how they can make this thing work better or work faster. Is that I think some of the solutions out there are really good. To be honest, some of the solutions that I'm looking into, they comes with security thoughts, controls, and it can be customized to tailor for the customers. But the way I see that is that a lot of those stuff are not transparent. So the customer keep repeating these questions. Like, I think the cloud topic has been around, I think, for a couple of years, and the security question keep coming up. And every time when the customer asks the same questions, and the cloud provider needs to answer the similar questions again. And what happens if let's say all these controls or securities can be actually make it more transparent upfront, so that the customers can actually know what they are getting into. So I would like to use the word transparency, and I think the transparency of this solution can help the DR landscape move faster.
Jackie, specifically on that point, the sort of data segregation issue, what does NTT specifically use to address that area?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with KT on that point. Actually, well, being a carrier service provider, we have the full control in each of the stack of the service that we provide. within the total solutions. That's why we are able to provide flexible solutions in terms of like leveraging the manageability back to the customer for some of the sensitive data. And also a pretty good example is using a hybrid approach, where if the customer is finding that some of the data is very sensitive and to meet the audit requirement, that can be on a purely physical environment, and we can seamlessly tap that into the cloud environment for compute resources that will be able to run on the cloud. And that's a pretty good approach that we have been providing all along.
Okay, thank you for that, folks. I also see a question from one of our audience members around if there are any customer references from the financial services industry. And again, it's a very sort of common question, because we know in the financial services area, regulatory issues do place a certain barrier, I guess, for companies when talking to the cloud. I don't know, KT or any of the other guys, anybody got a financial case or a scenario which we've been able to use to leverage the cloud?
Yeah, maybe I'll start first. I'm KT from PwC. So yes, financial services industry is always a challenge because not just the concern for the management from the security perspective, availability, all these issues being raised. The regulator is another important stakeholder that the companies need to manage. So as far as I know, I mean, to my best knowledge, we are helping companies to migrate to some cloud solutions also. And in Singapore and Hong Kong, the both regulators on the banking side, they have not actually approved one company to go ahead with a cloud solution yet. So you can imagine, again, I need to use the word again, transparency. And also the solution needs to be transparent enough to prove to the regulator that customer privacy is being taken care of, data segregation is not an issue, the way how the cloud solution is being managed at the service provider level, how they're protecting the SLA, the DR of the DR. Let's say the DR, let's say the cloud side, if I saw the question just now, if let's say the electricity is down at the DR, at the cloud side, how do they recover? If all this being made transparent, that from my view is that the customers that you are targeting, they can help to explain to the regulator as well. Because you can imagine if, let's say, they don't understand the solutions or the transparency of the controls that you are providing, that makes it even difficult for them to explain to the regulators. You can probably imagine the regulators, they are not even a technical person, very laid back, some lawyers, you know. So that's at least I think one story that I can share.
Okay. Just before I ask Stanley and Jackie to chip in, I think it's also important to note that, you know, when we talk about cloud, we mean cloud in all different models, right? So it could be private, it could be hybrid and public. And I, for myself, have seen some examples of financial services companies, say insurance companies, leverage the cloud for, say, their email applications or other types of systems. And while in banking, it's still very much a guarded and a tough area, at least from my perspective in the media, we've seen some examples of financial services companies leveraging the cloud. Jackie, on your side, what have you seen in the financial services space? Any examples which you can share?
Yeah, so as echo to what we just said, in particular to the financial industry, we do have some customer that is putting some of their compute resources to our cloud platform. Not all the sensitive data, as I mentioned earlier. Like that's why we will have a hybrid approach for them to choose from, whether what kind of data they would like to put on the cloud and what kind of data they will just keep it in-house to meet the compliance requirement. And I think also just to the point about the transparency, the industries, I think I see that the industry is moving very fast and working on standard to make all the cloud services more transparent to the industry, so that like we get, whenever the service provider can meet the standard, then I think that by then it will be less of this kind of back and forth questions.
Yeah, I mean, this is Stanley. I think when we discuss about the DR cloud solutions, whether it's suitable, whether it's a trend or not for those company in the financial sector. It's the same question they're asking about whether the financial sector will going to use the cloud platform in the future. Is it a trend? Well, my feeling, my simple answer is yes, it's a trend. I think nowadays, if you ask any CIO when we talk about the cloud, they have a strong challenge by their CEO or CFO about how they can leverage the cloud environment in order to lower their IT investment costs, or to help them to expand their IT investment in a very controllable and variable way. Okay, so yes, we have the challenge. We have the challenge about the security, and maybe all the gentlemen here are talking about the transparency. Yes, we have to do that, and we will get it on it. From a vendor perspective, I do see a lot of technology, best practices, compliances from a IT environment or the technology chain. So, for example, I think I do see, from banking, if we segregate the financial center into banking, investment, or insurance, what I can see is the insurance sector, they are more pioneer to go on with the cloud environment. So I have a couple of customers. They are working on moving their infrastructure into cloud environment, and also consider put the DR side into the cloud environment as well. So we do see the trend, and we will get there to figure out how to make things in terms of security and everything better. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Stanley. I think it would also help our audience members understand the proposition a little bit more clearly here, and the reality is that when we talk about something like DR in the cloud, it's not about moving everything into the cloud. It's not saying, well, here's our traditional on-site, on-premise DR replication site, we're going to shift everything into the cloud immediately. There's a lot of different options, a lot of different models. Stanley mentioned hybrid, so maybe Stanley, you can share, what are the different scenarios that cloud DR might work, and different options that might be available to customers if they have different needs here. Go with Jackie first. Sorry.
Okay. So if you're running a DR with traditional implementation, well, that's not usually there will be a challenge that to move things to cloud. So, like for example, some legacy applications or legacy hardware, those cannot be moved to cloud. That we do see this kind of case, and also but for in terms of infrastructure expansions, or when you have additional resources that you need in the cloud DR site, then that can be flexibly expand and seamlessly connect to the cloud and expand over there. That's the examples, most popular examples that we have been working for the customer.
Stanley, anything to add there in terms of how the different scenarios are that might be possible for the use of cloud in this case?
Yeah, I think one of the things is, we can provide a more flexible way, whether you want a private environment for your own DR solutions, or you want a dedicated server to do the DR solution. Yes, we will target on that, and also the cloud solution provider can make it very hybrid. So it really depends on what you need. And I do see one of the question about, so I want to answer, one of the question is, what if the primary site gone, like no internet connection, how can those users can connect back to the DR site? Well, we do have a scenario to address this. So the customer, if they consider a scenario for that, then all their client, I mean their staff from the primary site, okay, if they are safe, they can get an internet access through their web browser and work through the web browser back to the DR site, make the connection back to the DR site. And I think NTT do have the solutions to address that kind of scenario. Okay, so yeah, feel free to talk to them.
Okay, thanks guys. It's also interesting. I do see more questions coming in. So while I filter through those, I just want to add in another point here about, certainly from the presentation we saw earlier from Jackie, is that DR seems to be quite an attractive proposition in the cloud compared to other types of cloud implementations or projects. And guys, what are the sort of reasons for that? Why is cloud seemingly a good starting point here? Katie, maybe you've got some experience there.
Sure. Thanks, Chi. Yeah, I think Jackie also touched on a lot of benefits on the cloud or using cloud as a DR or even for the production solution. So, I mean, from my personal standpoint, I do hope that cloud can be a success story, and I also see lots of benefits coming out from cloud solutions, like faster, cheaper, scalable, and I personally believe that cloud should be the way driving the IT landscape, getting things faster, quicker to the end user, so that the business can benefit from it. And also, I think cloud is well positioned for the current very agile business environment. As you're probably aware that today's economy, every 6 months, it changes drastically as well. So, sometimes the business performance is good, sometimes the business performance is bad, and the cloud is well positioned for all these agile business environment. So, that's my view.
Jackie, anything to add there in terms of why is DR a good start point for cloud types of implementations?
Well, I think while enterprise find that they have to justify to migrate their production infrastructure to the cloud, and I think cloud DR on the other hand can be a more easy entrance point as a first step to step into the cloud technologies for the enterprise, like because they don't have to plan do the planning for moving their production site completely.
Okay, thank you for that. I've also got questions about cloud is supposed to be a much cheaper and faster way of getting disaster recovery up and running now. So in terms of the time, what sort of time savings are we talking about here? How quickly does it take to get a cloud DR set up, established, and running for a company?
Okay, so it really depends on what kind of resources that we identify to be included in our DR plan. So, for example, if we are talking about like a host-based DR solutions, probably it would just take hours. Well, depending on the size of data, to fully replicate your servers to the cloud platforms, and then you can just start right away with your disaster recovery in place, and you can perform drill at any time as you want.
Yeah, maybe a little bit supplement to Jackie said. It's about the SLA. It's about what kind of solutions or what kind of platform you want to be in the DR side. Let's say you have you want to have a DR for a Unix server. It's totally different for a DR for the Windows platform, right? So it depends on what kind of. But generally, what we can say is if the DR side, we are talking about to protect a Intel platform, let's say a Windows server, okay? If I take out all the cluster requirement, then the setup, as Jackie say, probably within an hour, and then we have to synchronize the data from the primary side to the DR side, and then we can go for the DLG. So it depends on the data size, what kind of platform, and the SLA you want. Yes.
Okay, just an additional point there, Stanley, and Jackie, feel free to chip in as well. So if I'm moving from a traditional DR setup to a cloud setup, probably it's going to be a hybrid thing. I'm not going to move everything into the cloud. From the IT management perspective, is there much of a change in terms of managing what was a traditional setup versus managing a cloud-based DR setup? Is the management processes, the tools that I'm using, is there much change there?
Well, this is exactly the beauty thing is we are trying to deliver a more user-friendly single admin console for the customer to administrate the platform. We're trying to sell them tools that are easy to be used. Not selling them the very complex solution. They need to have another 6 months training for managing the DR environment. Yes, the environment or the DR solution provided by the NTT is a completely web-based solutions. The user can administrate their access or their DR environment for a single console, and this is the purpose, right, Jackie?
Yeah, I agree with that. So, well, the cloud is meant to give you a more easy, manageable solutions to manage your IT asset, and including cloud DR resources. So I won't see some additional difficulties on having a hybrid solutions, as we can offer very seamless integrations between the physical world and the cloud platforms. That's something that we are able to provide. Also through the advanced virtual network technology that we have been deploying on our enterprise cloud platforms, I think that would definitely help a lot.
Okay. I did see a couple of queries around pricing. Obviously, people want to know how much this costs. And I'm not going to pin you down, Jackie or Stanley, on pricing right now, because it's probably difficult because there's so many different customer scenarios and everything. But, I mean, when people think of the cloud, does it really mean zero upfront cost? I mean, there must be some cost involved in getting this set up, and then I guess you just pay for when you actually need the service, right?
Well, maybe I can give a little bit on, the model. So generally, think about that. Let's say we have a traditional way. If you want to make a DR solutions, that means you want to have a completely similar environment as your production one. So your investment supposedly should be double, plus a network connection, plus a services to maintain your DR environment, right? So if some figures that lower than what the formula I mentioned previously, that will be called cheaper. This is my answer. So Jackie, you got any comment?
Yeah, I think in compare with some others cloud DR solutions or models in the market. So what we are providing is that we do only charge the customer on the storage that they're consuming, because in a DR environment they don't consume any CPU or memory resources. They only use that when they really trigger the DR resources for failover or drill test. So that in that perspective, the customer will be able to save a lot compared to a traditional implementation where they have to pay upfront for all the hardwares.
Okay, thank you, guys. Probably got time for one last question. Let me just sort of touch on, I guess, from the customer perspective, if I'm considering cloud for disaster recovery right now, whether I have an existing disaster recovery strategy or an implementation in place or not. What are the key considerations for determining putting everything into the cloud or putting just some elements of my disaster recovery into the cloud? And you can use maybe your customer case earlier, the advertising company, in terms of what their thought process was when they went through their experience. Jackie.
Well, I would say you should plan your DR implementation wisely. So like you don't have to put everything or include everything into your DR plan. So to identify what kind of resources is suitable to put on within your DR plan is the main question. Probably you can ask some of the questions like how do you know like which applications are the most critical, and the answer may be it's pretty simple. Like for example, which applications create the most help desk call when they are unavailable. So by doing those kind of questions, actually you can identify the critical application or critical assets that you should include into your DR plan. That will also help a lot in planning.
Yeah, and this is Stanley. And the beauty of the DR cloud solutions is we give you a flexibility. You can migrate, or you can put all those infrastructure to the DR side phase by phase, and you don't need to pay something upfront. And we can leveraging the infrastructure, the environment from the data center. So customer have a cheaper approach, plus they can choose the project run into different phases, and without lowering their service level, without extra cost demanding, and this is the beauty, right?
Okay. Great, thanks, Stanley. So time is a little bit short, so we're going to have to bring this session to a close, unfortunately. I do see a lot more questions there that we may not have answered, so we're going to do our best to try and answer those offline. What we'll also do is provide a replay of the webinar. So there is a link available, I believe, at the end of this session where you can replay it if you want in another time. And do remember to complete the survey. We do want your feedback to try and improve this in the future. And you need to do that to get your Starbucks coupon and also have an opportunity to win the iPad Air as well. So you don't want to forget that. Finally, I guess a big thank you to our speakers from NTT Com Asia, Novell, and PwC. So thanks, Jackie. Thank you to Stanley and KT. We look forward to at least welcoming you at the next webinar. And again, do feel free to send further questions, and we'll do our best to answer those. And I guess we're going to sign off now. Thank you very much.